Access your free language gifts of the month right now. Here's what you're getting this month. First, the Being Funny conversation cheat sheet. Want to be able to tell jokes in your target language or tell someone how funny or unfunny they are? You will with this brand new cheat sheet. Second, all the language you need for everyday life. Get all of our best conversation cheat sheets rolled up into one with this gift. Download it right now before it disappears. Third, must-know book vocabulary. If you love reading and want to talk about books, then this next 1-minute lesson is for you. Fourth, phrases to use with the doctor. Learn how to say phrases like, I have an appointment, I don't feel well, and much more. Fifth, summer plans conversation lesson. Can you talk about your summer plans? Such as go travel, relax at the beach, or stay at home and sit on the internet. You will with this 1-minute lesson. Access it right now. Sixth, free audiobooks. Unlock our huge library of language learning audiobooks. Save them to any device and listen and learn. They're yours to keep forever. And finally, the deal of the month. If you want to finally master the language with lessons by real teachers and our complete language learning program, get 31% off Premium or Premium Plus with the Pretty Big Deal sale. So, to get your gifts and language learning resources, click the link in the description below. Download them right now before they expire.
Merhaba, welcome to TurkishClass101.com. I'm Seda. Today we'll learn how to count in Turkish. Don't worry, it's easy. Generally people get intimidated about learning the numbers, but in Turkish it's not that complicated. So let's start, okay? 1 bir 2 2 3 4 4 5 5 6 6 7 7 8 8 9 9 and 10 on. See, it's easy. Now let's count together. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Very good job. Okay, now you know how to count till 10. And from 10 to 100, it's really easy in Turkish. You just need to learn the 10, 20, 30 numbers. Then you just add the numbers you already know. So let's start with 10. We already know it. 10 is 10. Yes. So if you want to say, for example, 11, we add 10 and 1 together in Turkish. First we say 10, then we say 1, and it makes 11. So there's no new number for 11 as in English. So it is 11. 11. 11. So let's go like that. What was 2 in Turkish? It was 2. 2. So we put 10 on 2. 2. 10, 2. Yes, very good. So let's count together from 10 to 19, okay? 10, 1, 11, 11, 12, 12, 12, 12, 13, 14, 14, 14, 15, 15, 15, 15, 16, 16, 16, 16, 17, 17, 17, 17, 18, 18, 18, 18, and the last one is 19. Can you guess? Yes. 19, 19, 19. So let's count a little bit faster together. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Very good. Now this is the rule, and you can use this rule for all the numbers for 25, 37, 48. You just need to know those numbers, then you add the other numbers. Let's learn 20, okay? 20, 20, 20, 20, and 30, 30, 30, 30, and 40, 40, 40, 40, and 50, 50, 50, 50, and 60, 60, 60, 60, 60, and 70, 70, 70, 70, and 80, 80, 80, 80, and the last one is 90, 90, 90, 90. And now let's go over it from 20 to 90, okay? 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. And that's it. When you know these numbers, you can make any number you want. Let's try to make 25. We add 20, then 5 together. 25, 25, 25. Okay, let's make 72. How to make it? First 70, then 2. Okay? 72, 72. Or let's make 91. 91, 91, 91. Or 64. 64. 64. Okay, so it's not that bad, right? Okay, very good. Now we need to learn the hundreds and thousands. But don't worry, you just need to learn 2 words. For hundreds, you just need to know 100 because you will edit 1 and 100, 2 and 100, 3 and 100. It's like in English, and for the 1000 you need to learn 1000, 1000, 2000, 3000. So you just need to learn 2 more new words. For 100 we say use, use, use. And I have a funny fact for you. Actually, use means 3 different things in Turkish. One is face. Maybe you know it. Yeah, use. My face, I would say yüzüm. And another word is yüz means to swim. Yeah, add 100. I know they're not connected at all. They just have the same word for different meanings. We sometimes have that in Turkish. So let's practice together, okay? We know use. So if you want to say 200, we would say 200. Or if you want to say 500, we would say 500. And it goes like that. And for 1000, we have the word bin. 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 And again, bin means also to ride or to, it means to ride. For example, ata binmek, to ride a horse. So if you see bin in a regular sentence, don't get confused about it. But the rest is the same. We add the number, then we say bin, then we make that big number. For example, let's say 5000, we just add 5000, 5000, 5000, 5000. Or let's say 9000, 9000, 9000, 9000. Okay, now we are, the new year is 2020. So if we want to say 2020, how would we say it? 2020. Okay, let's try some other date. Let's say we want to say 1982. Okay? As a year, it's 1982. We would say 1982. 1982. That's not that hard, right? Okay, before I go, I want to talk to you about something. Sometimes we have some words related to numbers, but they are not Turkish. They are either Farsi or Arabic. It's coming from the old Turkish, the Ottoman Turkish. And for example, we have a saying sittin sene. Sittin sene. It means that like forever or never. We use it like that in a sentence. For example, in this sense, eğer giderse onu sittin sene göremem. Eğer giderse onu sittin sene göremem. It means if he goes, if she goes, I won't be able to see him or her like forever. In this sense, sittin sene means like never, forever. But in reality, sittin means 60 in Arabic, and we use it like this. Probably in Ottoman times, people knew what sittin means, but in these modern times, not many people know it. But we have that in our language. I'm Seda. Welcome to TurkishClass101.com. Today we'll learn how to tell the dates in Turkish. So we already learned about the numbers, and if you didn't watch that video, please check it out. And today we'll add the months and the days, so we'll know how to read the dates, okay? So in Turkish, we start the year from January and it ends in December. This is our day-to-day calendar. But keep in mind that because most of the Turkish people are Muslim, we also keep a Muslim calendar. We don't use that for daily lives, but we use it for our religious holidays. So it changes every year. Sometimes the Ramadan in January, sometimes it's in summertime. So we have the special minister that follows that, so they let us know when it is. And some people know the dates, but the real calendar we use in our daily lives, it's the Gregorian calendar. So we start with January, okay? Now, if you are ready, let's start. Ocak, January. Ocak, Ocak. And this word, it's as I told you before, sometimes we have one word for different meanings. Ocak also mean the countertop, the oven, the thing that we cook our food. So if you see that in some place, don't get confused. But January is also Ocak. So February is Şubat, Şubat, Şubat. And March is Mart, Mart, Mart. And April is Nisan, Nisan, Nisan. And May is Mayıs, Mayıs, Mayıs. And June is Haziran, Haziran, Haziran. And July is Temmuz, Temmuz, Temmuz. And August is Ağustos, Ağustos. And with the soft G sound, I know that you may have trouble saying it because it's really hard to say it. That it's not a exact sound, but generally it blends with the vowels before and after it. So Ağustos, I make the sound but it's like I'm making the A and the U longer when I'm saying it. Ağustos, 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 something like that. So September is Eylül, Eylül, Eylül. And October is Ekim, Ekim, Ekim. And November is Kasım, Kasım, Kasım. And December is Aralık, Aralık, Aralık. So these are our months. Let's say it together. Ocak, Şubat, Mart, Nisan, Mayıs, Haziran, Temmuz, Ağustos, Eylül, Ekim, Kasım, Aralık. These are the 12 months in Turkish. And if you are really into culture, check out the names of Turkish months. Some of them are from the Babylonian calendar actually, as in Tammuz, Temmuz, or Nisan. They have their own myths, and in Turkish we have some residue of those Babylonian culture in our language. So I really like about this when learning and teaching language, to see the bits and pieces of other cultures in the language you are speaking of. So if you are into it, check it out. Okay, let's continue with our lesson. And now you know the months and we need to learn the days. And in Turkish again, because we use the Gregorian calendar, we start our week on Monday. So let's start with it. We say pazartesi, 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 pazartesi. This is actually one verb, but it's combined from two words. Pazar, which you will learn in a bit, means Sunday, and tesi actually means ertesi, like the next day. So pazartesi literally means pazar ertesi, the next day of Sunday. So it doesn't have a new name, it's just the next day of Sunday. It's funny, but it's true. So, and Tuesday is salı, 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 salı. And Wednesday is çarşamba, 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 çarşamba. And Thursday is perşembe, 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 perşembe. And Friday is cuma, 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 cuma. And this is also interesting because this word is coming from Arabic. The letters C and M, J and me in Turkish. We have, for example, different words with that. Cem, it's a male name that we have in Turkish. Or cami means mosque. Or cemevi, which is a religious place for another sect of Muslims. These all have the same meaning. It means to come together. It's a day of coming together because Juma is a special day for Muslims. So this day is named Juma. And also when people say Juma, they may mean to go to a Friday praying. In Muslim cultures, man goes to the mosque to pray together on Friday. They're supposed to go. So if you're in Turkey and if you hear that we are going to Friday, it means that they are going to a Friday prayer in the mosque. So keep in mind. Okay, so let's see the other day. It's Saturday and in Turkish it's cumartesi, cumartesi, cumartesi. And this is the same with pazartesi. It's Cuma and ertesi. It means the next day of Friday. Cumartesi. And the last day, it's Sunday. Pazar. 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 And another funny thing, pazar also means a farmer's market. We have pazars everywhere in every small district of the city. So for example, we have pazartesi pazarı. It means that Monday farmers market. Or we have pazar pazarı. It's like Sunday's farmers market. Or Wednesday Sunday's market. It's çarşamba pazarı. These pazars are at the different districts of the city, so you can buy clothes, or it's not just for food, clothes like shoes, whatever you want, you can find it in the farmers market. I really like them. Okay, so we learned about the days of the week, we learned about the months of the year, so we also know the numbers, yeah? And now we can say the dates, right? In Turkish, if you are if you are writing, this is on when writing, if you are writing a specific date, then you need to use capital letters with the month and the day. For example, for Sunday and February. But if you are just saying the month or saying the day without being specific, then you need to use lowercase letter. Okay? Just keep that in mind. So the rule is, first you say the number, which day we are in a month, then the month, then the year. And if you want to add the day, then at the end you say the day, okay? First let's start with, for example, 12th of November 2020. We say 12 Kasım 2020. If you want to say the day as well, for example, 21st of December 2019, Saturday. Am I right? Yeah. Okay. So 21 Aralık 2019 Cumartesi. Okay, another date. And let's try this. 24th of February 980. 24 Şubat 1984. And let's try another one. 10th of January 1955. 10 Ocak 1955. Merhaba, I'm Seda. Ben Seda. Welcome to TurkishClass101.com. Today we'll talk about how to tell the time in Turkish. It's not that complicated. We will learn a couple of rules. Other than that, you only need to know the numbers. So if you don't know the numbers, please study numbers before. We have lessons about numbers as well. So let's start, okay? And before I start, I want to tell you something. In Turkish, we don't have AM or PM phrases. And instead of that, either we understand it from the context, or if we are gonna meet someone and we say, let's meet at 7 tomorrow, you know, the person may not understand if it's in the morning or in the evening. So we just say those words. We say evening or morning. We add it next to the time. So we make sure that the person understands and doesn't wait for us for long hours. So first let's go over on that. I have my notes. We have, if you want to say evening, you say akşam, akşam, akşam. For morning, you need to say sabah, sabah, sabah. For afternoon, sometimes we say, for example, 2 in the afternoon, we say öğleden sonra, öğleden sonra, öğleden sonra. And we have a specific time we talk about. It's like between after 4 p.m. till 6:30. It's a specific time for us. We say akşam üzeri, akşam üzeri. It's something like about to be the evening. It's like it's between afternoon, evening, that time scale. Akşam üzeri. And if we talk about after 12 a.m., for example, this is for after 11 a.m. 11 p.m. From 11 p.m. till 4 a.m. in the morning, we say gece or gece yarısı. It means like it's between, I don't know, there's no such a thing in English, exact thing. It's, as I said, between 11 p.m. till 4 a.m. in the morning, gece. For example, if I want to say 11, but not in the morning, it's 11 p.m., I would say gece 11, gece 11, something like that. So keep that in mind, and you don't have to say them, but as I said before, this is for making sure that the person understands what time you are talking about. It would be so much easier if we had AM and PM, but we don't. What can you do? Okay, let's start. First, let's start with asking the question, right? What time is it? It is very simple. It's saat kaç? Saat kaç? Saat kaç? And funny thing, kaç means in English you can use it for how much, how many, or in this case what time is it, and we use it for questions. It's like a question mark, question tag, but it also mean to run away, something like that. It's a verb, and when you say saat kaç, it also sounds to our ears something like clock, run away clock. And this is a children's joke. If someone says saat kaç and they think that it's like clock, run away, and they say saat kaçmıyor, meaning something like the clock is not running away. It's when you translate it, these things don't doesn't sound funny, but in the language of small children, they are supposed to be funny. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, so you know how to ask the question saat kaç, and the answer, if we are talking about like 1, 2, 3, 4, it's very easy. You can either just say the numbers without saying anything. You can, if someone says saat kaç, you could just say 1, for example, bir. Or if you want a proper sentence, it is saat bir. Let's say I want to tell it's 3. Can you say? Let's wait. You know the numbers? Yes. Let's wait a second. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Okay, I'm saying it. Saat 3. Saat 3. Saat 3. It's easy. It's saat 3, saat 4, saat 5. Just that. You don't even have to say saat in this sense. And with the half an hour, for example, 1:30, 2:30, it's again very simple. You just add buçuk. Buçuk means half. Buçuk. Buçuk. It's a funny word when you hear it. Yeah, I know. Buçuk. Buçuk. Half. So, if you want to say, for example, it's 7:30, we would say 7:30. 7:30. 7:30. Or if you want to say 5:30, we would say, what would we say? 5:30. 5:30. 5:30. Okay, now let's try 11:30. Let's wait a couple of seconds. I'm giving you time. Yes, time. 11:30. What was 11 in Turkish? 11:30. 11:30. Saat kaç? 11:30. So that's it. Already you can say the 1, 2, 3 or 1:30, 2:30, 3:30. It's easy. Now comes the tricky part. If you want to talk about how many past time and to time, I couldn't find the words to explain it, but I will in a bit. Let's check my example. Okay, if you want to talk about past the hour, we have a formula, we have a rule. First we put the hour, okay? First the hour. Then we add some letters. It's either I, U, or Ü. What decides which letter will go there? It's Turkish vowel harmony rules. I'm sorry, I know it's a little bit complicated, but you have to know this rule. This rule goes everywhere. When you want to speak Turkish, you have to think about Turkish vowel harmony rules all the time. So, according to the word, we add one of these letters. And don't forget, in Turkish, normally as a rule, two vowels can't come together. So, A and A can't come together. If they come together, you have to put a buffer letter in between. In this case, we have to add the letter Y, in between. So, if our number ends with a vowel, in the case of, for example, 2, so we have to add the buffer letter Y in between because of the rule. And you may ask, Seda, then why you have the word time or clock with two vowel letters, saat? That would be a very good question. It's because some of the words are coming from different languages. In this case, saat is coming from the language Arabic. And those words that are coming from other languages doesn't have to follow the rules of Turkish. So you don't try to make this rule to every word you see in Turkish. I know this doesn't help, but it gets it gets easier in time. Don't worry, okay? Turkish is a little bit hard at first, but it gets easier because you get the idea where to put what, and it won't be this scary after some point. So the rule is you add the hour, then one of the letters I said, then the minutes, then you have to say geçiyor, geçiyor, geçiyor. I will put the formula here or here somewhere. You will see it. And geçiyor means it's a conjugated version of the verb to pass, to pass. So the minutes are passing the hour, that's the idea. And the conjugation is in third singular form of present continuous tense. Geçiyor. So let's give you an example. For example, let's say 10 past 3. You can either start with saat again, you can say saat, or you can just say the number, doesn't matter, sounds the same. So saat 3 ü 10 geçiyor. I add ü here because of the Turkish vowel harmony rules. So saat 3'ü 10 geçiyor. Saat 3'ü 10 geçiyor. And sometimes I get the questions of why you are not saying some vowels. Normally, when I speak clearly and slowly, I would say geçiyor. But in my daily life, I would little bit omit, little bit swallow the last letter of R. Okay, I would just say geçiyor, as if there is no R there. So when you are listening to some series, some native speakers, you would wonder where is this last letter. So the last letter, I just swallow it. I don't know, the daily language is a little bit different. So, okay, let's give you another example. Okay, perfect example. Let's say it's 15 or quarter past 5. So we, as in English, we have a separate word for quarter. It is çeyrek, 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 çeyrek. So we either can say 15 or we can say quarter. So let's try with both. Saat 5'i 15 geçiyor. Saat 5'i 15 geçiyor. Saat 5'i 15 geçiyor. Or we can say saat 5'i çeyrek geçiyor. Saat 5'i çeyrek geçiyor. Saat 5'i çeyrek geçiyor. Let's give you another example. It's 20 past, I couldn't find time. It's 20 past 7. Let's say that. Let's wait a little. Can you guess it? Can you tell me? 20 past 7. Saat 7'yi, the buffer letter, 20 geçiyor. Saat 7'yi 20 geçiyor. Saat 7'yi 20 geçiyor. That's it. That's the whole rule, okay? Now you got this, and let's go over to the time that the time I couldn't say it. To the time, to tell the time to the hour, the 2 hours, as in 10 to 5, as in 5 to 6, things like that. Okay, let's start. We have a rule here as well. Now we add again the hour first. Then we either add a, the letter e, a, or a, the letter a. Then we would add minute, and we would say var. Okay? Again, we would add the hour, either a or a, according to the vowel harmony rules. And don't forget, if we need the buffer letter, we add the buffer letter y, the y here as well. And we would add the minute, and we say var. Do you remember what var means? Var means either have, has got, or there is, there are. So when I translate it, for example, it's 10 to 5, in Turkish it would translate something like there is 10 to 5, something like that. Okay? It's not that complicated, you need just practicing a little, okay? Let's practice together. Let's say it's 10 to 5 together. 5'e 10 var. 5'e 10 var. 5'e 10 var. And let's say it's quarter to 7. Again, we could say 15, but generally for time we would say quarter. So it's çeyrek. 7'ye çeyrek var. 7'ye çeyrek var. 7'ye çeyrek var. Okay, let's say 25 to 9. Okay? 9'a 25 var. 9'a 25 var. 9'a 25 var. That's it. Okay, let's practice together. Now I'll tell you a time and you'll try to say it, okay? It's 12:30. 12:30. 12:30. And a note, we have a special saying for 12:30 in Turkish. You would just say yarım. Yarım. That's it, yarım. You can use it. You can either say 12:30, 12:30, or you could just say yarım. Both are the same, okay? Okay, I hope you liked it. And Merhaba, I'm Seda. Ben Seda. Welcome to TurkishClass101.com. Today we'll talk about the costs of living in Turkey. And Turkey is a very big country, so the costs are generally different in big cities and the small villages. And the rents and the earnings and a lot of things differ. So I will use Istanbul as an example. Istanbul is not the capital but the biggest city in Turkey, and around 20 million live in Istanbul, so it will give you a rough idea. Istanbul is one of the, I think, the most expensive city as well. But if you're just visiting, this is important knowledge. But if you are planning to live in Turkey, generally in Istanbul the incomes are also higher. So the costs are higher, but the incomes are higher. And when you go to other cities, the incomes is a little bit less than you can earn in Istanbul, but your costs are also a little bit less. So let's start with our costs. It's a good information. So let's start with rent. So in Istanbul there are two sides, one Anatolian side and one European side, and we have 3 bridges and one under tunnel that you can go by car, and one subway goes from underneath the Bosphorus, so you can have a lot of ways to crisscross the sides. And it's literally one side is in Asia, the other side is in Europe. So it's, I think, one of the, I don't know how many other countries have that. Like we have 2 continents in one city and we have bridges connect them. So that's a little amazing, I think. Anyway, in general, the European side in rent base is higher comparing to Asian side. But it depends actually, because the central places are much more expensive than the the faraway places, and it depends on the how big you want your apartment and how many rooms. The buildings differ. From the new buildings are more expensive than the old buildings, and there are a lot of constructions because of the earthquake. The buildings are getting renewed constantly, so it depends on a lot of factors. That's why it's a little hard to give an exact number, but it starts with from 1,000 Turkish liras to, it can go to 10,000, which is very expensive, but the range is that big. So you can pick a place according to your income, and keep in mind that 1 Turkish lira is around 5.7 American dollar. So you can make your math. And generally the minimum wage in minimum income limit is it's around 2,000, I think 2,300 Turkish liras, which is very low, lower than the survival needs. So people are working on it, I think, or should work on it, but that's the minimum wage. And the rents are starting from 1,000, so you can imagine that it will be really hard to see the end of the month for a lot of people. So if you are coming here and you want to rent a house, you should know that in Istanbul, generally in Turkey, you rent apartments. Houses are very expensive. Maybe in faraway villages you can rent cheap houses, but in cities you can't just rent a house. It would be very, very expensive, and you couldn't find a lot of houses anyway. We generally live in apartment buildings, and the houses. You can rent them from, there are a couple of websites you can check out. Hürriyet Emlak, Milliyet Emlak, and sahibinden.com. You can check out these websites, or you can use, I think, Airbnb for, you know, renting houses as well. But you know, I don't know, if you're gonna stay for a couple of days, you could go to a hotel or you can use Airbnb. But if you're gonna stay here permanently, using local rental agencies or these rental websites in Turkish would help you, I think, better income wise. So check them out. And this is for rent. Okay, let's see our utilities. Okay, in general, you have to, in Turkey, you have to pay for water. This is not for drinking water. You have to pay for drinking water as well, but this is for utility, for the water coming from the pipes. We don't drink water from pipes. They're not clean. We in cities at least, we get bottled waters, and you have to pay for water, pay for electricity, pay for heating. It's generally cold. We have around 4 seasons, so winter time it's getting really cold. And we have a fee for apartments, cleaning and electricity, stuff like that. And we have, let me check, yeah, that's it. So for water, it's one of the cheapest one. This is also depend on how much you use it, but it goes from 50 Turkish liras to 200 Turkish liras for water per month, because it depends, you know, if you're one person in a house, it's of course you would use less water, and if you are working whole day, you are not at home, you would use less water. But if you are like 4 member family, then you would use more. So from 50 Turkish liras to 200 Turkish liras. For apartment fees, if you're living in a single, you know, small apartment, the fees can go as low as 20-30 Turkish liras. But if you're living in luxury compounds, it can go to like 500 Turkish liras. So that's for apartments. You pay for apartments. They take care of your apartment cleaning. They take care of your trash, and some people come, you know, at some time and collect your trash, and they take care of your sometimes security. If it's getting if you pay more, generally security includes, and you things like that. You have to pay for apartment. And heating is killing us. It's so expensive, and we generally in Istanbul, and not all the cities in Turkey, but in big cities, we use natural gas, and it's really expensive. It's again up you know, depends on how much you use it. If you're not at home all day and you're just running the heats only for a couple of hours, of course it's not gonna get too high. But if you're using it all day long, then it would get from, I think, let me check my numbers. Yeah, minimum it's around 100 Turkish liras. For 2 it goes up to 800 Turkish liras. So it depends on how much you use it. And in some apartments you can control your heating, like you turn it on and turn it off. But in some apartments, the apartment control it, so you don't have any saying on it. So it's like a shared heating. So they calculate the amount for the whole apartments, and then they just divide it to the number. So it depends on the building as well, and how good is the apartment's physical properties. It depends on a lot of factors, but that's the range. And for water heating, some apartments use natural gas for water heating. Some apartments use electricity. So it depends on the apartment as well. And for electricity, it wasn't that expensive, but this year it's much more expensive. So it again depends on how much you use it, but it ranges from, I think it's minimum 100 Turkish liras you get for electricity. So I don't know how much that means. You can calculate the amount, but that's for the utilities and rent. So let's check out some vocabulary. We have rent, right? Rent is in Turkish kira, kira, kira. We have bill. It's fatura, fatura, fatura. And we have electricity bill, for example. It is elektrik faturası. Elektrik faturası. Elektrik faturası. We have water bill. It's su faturası. Su faturası. Su faturası. And we have natural gas bill. La la la. Doğal gaz faturası. Doğal gaz faturası. Doğal gaz faturası. And we have the apartment pay, as I told you before. It is aidat. Aidat. So you have your all vocabulary information for rents and utilities. Okay, so let's see what you need in Istanbul. You need to know how much you will spend on transportation, right? If you are living, most of the cities have this card. I don't have it with me right now. I will show you. But we have cards called, if you are living in Istanbul, it's called Istanbul card. If you are living in Izmir, it's called accordingly. And all the cities have their own cards. And you need to use this for public transportation. You can just pay independently, but it would be much more expensive. And let's check the fees, okay? Let's go and come back.
As you can see, there is 3 different type of cards. One is full fare, the other is student card, and the other is teacher or social card. The fees are different. And there is also a monthly card which is called blue card. And the blue card prices are also different according to the card type. And you will see here the transfer fares for buses and metro buses. Metro bus is a specific type of bus separate from the traffic lane, which is good because you don't get stuck in the traffic. And you see per transfer how much does it cost. And as you can see, you can also get a free ticket, free electronic ticket, but it's more expensive. So if you are planning to travel a lot in Istanbul or in other cities, it's better to get a card to use it.
Okay, so you saw the fees, and it's much more, it's smarter to use Istanbul card. You can just get smart Istanbul cards from bus stops, or you can just order online. That's okay, and use it. And there are also sometimes free passes when you use it. For example, in a time limit, you use the subway, you use the the bus and the ferry. Then some of them goes on a free pass. You don't pay anything. But if you don't have the card, you have to pay for them separately. And for students, as I told you before, for students it's so inexpensive, so it's better to get Istanbul card or another city card to use the public transportation. And for Istanbul, the public transportation, I think it's the best way, because it's a very crowded city, and there's a lot of traffic jam, and if you use your own car, rent your own car, it's not a very good idea to rent a car in Istanbul. The parking is a problem. You have to pay for parking, and traffic is a problem, and you would go crazy. So use public transportation. If there's a traffic jam, then you could use the train, the subway, or you could take the ferry, or you could just walk. It's much more better to be stuck in traffic. So if you have to go somewhere, you don't want to use the public transportation, you would use taxi, of course. And I think it's global. Taxis are expensive everywhere, right? So in Istanbul, it's also expensive to travel with taxi, and most of the time you could, stuck in traffic with taxi. But you need to know the numbers, so you could, some taxi drivers, they took the long way because they assume that you are foreigners. Not all of them, but some of them, they assume that you are foreigners and you don't know the way, you don't know the road. So if the way is, for example, from here to here, instead of going like that, they go like that. So it's a long way and it's more money. Shame, but some people do that. So for that, there's an app in Turkey. It's called, I think, Bitaxi. Yeah, Bitaxi. You could set your location, and from that location you can see the taxis nearby. It's like kind of Uber, but not it's for taxis. You see the closest taxis, you choose one, and you also choose the destination, so you can see the destination on the map. Okay, so you see the destination on the map, and you can also pay with a credit card, I think. So it's good that if you don't have cash with you, you can pay with the credit card. So it's maybe more secure for foreigners to use that. But even if you use regular taxis, most of them are okay. But you would maybe ask local how to go there, how far is it, before you jump on the taxi, so you have an idea. Or use just your map on your smartphone to see how much does it take to go from some location to other location, so you have a general idea. And I think the taxi, let me check my notes. Yes, it starts with around 5-6 Turkish liras. It starts with that number, then it adds up in every kilometer. It adds up around 3, I think. Yeah, it's 3 Turkish liras per kilometer. So you can just look at the map, do your math. So we cover your transportation, right? Let's cover some transportation vocabulary. For taxis, we say taxi. Easy, right? Taxi. We just say taxi. For bus, we say otobüs. 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 For tren, I'm sorry. For train, we say tren. 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 And we have some jitneys, like these small, bigger taxi thing that you share your taxi, and we call them dolmuş. And we have these minibuses. They go like crazy, but they take you everywhere, and they're very cheap in general. We call them minibus. And we have some ferries, because Istanbul is surrounded by sea, and for ferries we say vapur. And let's check. Yeah. For subway we say metro. And for this is just for Istanbul. Normally train is tren, as I told you before. But for Istanbul, because we have those under subway kind of thing between two sides of Istanbul, from European side to Asian side, that was called Marmaray, because the sea surrounding Istanbul is Marmara Sea, Marmara Denizi. That's why it was called Marmaray. And now they connected the train lines in both areas, in Anatolian part and European part, through Marmaray. So the whole train line is called Marmaray right now. Okay, this is just for Istanbul, but keep that in mind. So you know all about transportation, and let's go talk about eating. Okay, if you are living here, you would probably cook at home, so you would go to a grocery market or farmers market. There are a lot of farmers market in Turkey and in Istanbul as well. In every part of city there are different farmers market in different days. So generally farmers market are cheaper than grocery stores, and you know the food expenses are changing all the time. But if you're gonna cook, it's gonna be around, if you're one person, it's probably the groceries go around at least 300 Turkish liras per person. But again, it depends on how many food you buy, what kind of foods you buy, how much do you cook. I couldn't speak. How much do you cook? So it depends on a lot of factors, but let's say around 300 Turkish liras. But if you go out, you should go out. Turkish food is really, I would say, I don't know, number one. I really love it. You can find everything. I don't think anybody wouldn't find anything that at least would, I don't know. I'm speechless. Turkish food is good. And if you go out, you can find even the cheapest. We have simit. It's like some kind of bagel, but much delicious than bagel. It goes like 2 liras, 3 liras. You can get simit and ayran. It's a yogurt drink, ayran. You would pay 5-6 liras for that, and you would done with for breakfast, or you would done with for I don't know, like lunch, for a couple of Turkish liras. But besides street food, you should try street food, but you should be, you should talk to locals and ask them where to eat the street food. That would be safer. And mid-range restaurants would go like, I think, 30-40 Turkish liras per person. You could have a full meal with the the soup and the meat and some vegetables. And after that, for high-class restaurants, you could pay like 200, 300, 500 even Turkish liras for specific foods. It goes forever, I think, according to your taste and according to your budget. So you should be, the food part is the easiest part to arrange your budget. I think that in every budget there is something good to eat, so it would be easier. So we covered the food, we covered utilities, we covered the housing, we covered transportation. Yeah, now let's talk about some fun activities. For example, if you want to go to a movie, the regular movies would start, I think, let me check, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think 3D movies are the blockbusters, are the most expensive ones. They start around 30-35 Turkish liras per person, and it can goes a little bit more expensive according to the movie theater. But there are like independent movies, independent movie theaters. You can find tickets for even 10 Turkish liras, and some days are cheaper for students as well. If you are planning to study here, get a student card, because transportation, museums, or like some movie theaters have discounts for students. So that's for the movies. For theaters, it's again, I think it starts from 20-30 Turkish liras. So if you think like euro, and if you change it to euro and all these prices to USD, it's gonna be really cheap. But if you are earning Turkish liras, that you can make a budget thinking these numbers. And yeah, concerts are, I think, a little bit more expensive. And I think it starts it starts from 100 Turkish liras. It changes according to the, depending on the concert and the place. Maybe some concert would be even cheaper, but generally it would start from 100 Turkish liras, I think. And museums. Some museums are free. You can just go and have a walk and check it out. And some museums you have to pay a fee, and the fee can go up to, I think, 80 Turkish liras. That's the most, I think, one of the most expensive fees for museums. Generally, the museums are not that expensive in Turkey. So I think we are done with the costs. And let's talk about some fun leisure activity vocabulary as well before we go, and you'll be covered. So for museums, we would say müze, müze, müze. And for concerts, we would say konser, konser, konser. And for theaters, we would say tiyatro, teatro, tiyatro. And for movie theaters, we would say sinema, cinema, cinema. And let's see, for books, we would say kitap, kitap. And I didn't talk about the book fees, but it can start from $10, 10 Turkish liras. From it can go to 50, 60 Turkish liras if the book is really high quality with pictures, with good quality paper and like hardcover. It can go like that. And I think the ticket, we forgot the ticket. The ticket is bilet, bilet, bilet. Yay! Yay! Now you know all about the costs for living in Turkey, especially in Istanbul. So why don't you visit? Have you ever visited Istanbul or Turkey? How much did you spend? What did you find it expensive or cheap?
Hey everyone, welcome to the Monthly Review, the monthly show on language learning, where you discover new learning strategies, motivational tips, study tools, and resources. By the way, all the lessons and bonuses you're about to see can be downloaded for free on our website. So click the link in the description right now to sign up for your free lifetime account. Okay, today's topic is the power of mistakes. Have you ever made a mistake in your target language while talking with a native speaker? Maybe you said the wrong word. Maybe you misconjugated a verb. When you make a mistake, you usually don't forget about it, right? Well, that's the power of mistakes. And in today's episode, you're going to find out why making mistakes is crucial to learning a language. Do you know the most common adverbs of frequency? You will with this 1-minute lesson. Learn how to say rarely, always, often, sometimes, and much more in your target language. Fourth, must know summer clothes vocab. Do you know how to say t-shirt or shorts in your target language? If you don't, you can learn how. This 1-minute lesson will give you all the words you need for summer clothing. Fifth, the top 50 adjectives for personalities. Can you describe your personality? This next bonus teaches you 50 must-know adjectives for personalities, so you can talk about yourself in your target language. To get your free resources, click the link in the description below right now. They're yours to keep forever. Okay, let's jump into today's topic. Okay, today's topic is how remembering your mistakes can help you learn faster. First, take a moment and think of a time when you made a mistake. Maybe you were at work. Maybe you were at school. Maybe you were shopping or in another public place. We can all probably clearly remember many mistakes we've made. We also remember the reactions of the people around us. Some people are understanding. Some people aren't so understanding. But why do we remember these situations so clearly? Psychologically speaking, negative things tend to impact us more than positive things. For example, if we're asked to choose between gaining friends or gaining money and losing friends or losing money, we'll choose not to lose friends or lose money, not to gain. This is called loss aversion. We tend to avoid losing more than we work on gaining. We spend time thinking about our negative past experiences to avoid them in the future. Because of this, negative events, like making mistakes, stay in our minds for a very long time, and this happens in language learning. If you make a language mistake while chatting with a native speaker, it'll probably be hard to forget. Yes, it's true that when we're learning another language, we don't always know when we've made a mistake. But when we realize we've used the wrong word, used grammar incorrectly, spelled something wrong, or similar, we tend to remember the situation vividly. In some languages, just a tiny change in pronunciation, tone, or writing could make a big difference, so mistakes are a big source of worry for many learners. But the fact that mistakes are very hard for us to forget can be a powerful tool when learning a language. We want to avoid the feeling of embarrassment that comes after a mistake, so we work hard to correct ourselves. Past mistakes can motivate us to try harder. We can use our mistakes as a tool in our language learning. But we can't make these emotionally powerful mistakes by reading a textbook or even by taking a lesson with a teacher. The only way you can make these mistakes is by speaking in real conversations and messing up. So, what can you take away from this? Let's jump into the second part: how to use mistakes in your language learning. We can give advice like go ahead and make mistakes, but that's easier said than done. Here are 3 tips to help you make the most of your mistakes. 1. Speak in your target language as much as possible. Why? Because part of the learning process is making mistakes. Accept that mistakes are going to happen. If you're not making any mistakes ever, then you're probably not challenging yourself. 2. Look for opportunities to speak. Many learners have trouble finding public places to practice the language they're studying. See if there are language groups in your community or at your school. If you have trouble with that, look online and be creative. You don't need to search for groups specifically for language learners. See if you can find a hobby discussion in your target language. Maybe you'll find a news discussion group. Think outside the box. Find somewhere to practice and make mistakes. When you do mess up, you'll probably remember it. 3. Build on your experiences. Think carefully about your conversations after you have them, and work to make them longer each time. If you made a mistake in your first conversation, think about how to fix it. If you said only a few sentences in your first discussion, work to speak for 15 or 30 seconds on the next discussion. Challenge yourself. Many learners have trouble finding opportunities to speak that work with their schedule and their level. If you're not sure where else you can practice, you can consider hiring a tutor. If you're a Premium Plus member on our website, you can practice with your teacher. It's still important, where possible, to practice and make mistakes in real-life situations. This will help you to more carefully reflect on your conversations and work to improve. It isn't quite the same as studying with a textbook or a hired tutor. This strong desire to avoid making a mistake will help you work to improve. You'll be motivated to try harder. This can help you learn faster. So, thank you for watching this episode of Monthly Review. So, you decided to learn a new language. At first, the idea seemed exciting. You bought a phrase book, dictionary, and a subscription to an online class, ready to dive headfirst into the language. For the first day or 2, all was well. You gained ground quickly, learning a few basic phrases and words. A week before, learning that language was just a dream, but now you're actually doing it. Then, the 3rd and 4th day roll around. The excitement is wearing off. You encouraged yourself to continue, and another week or 2 goes by, but with a lot less progress. Suddenly, learning a new language doesn't fill you with excitement anymore. Now it feels more like dread. Sometimes it feels like you're drowning in grammatical cases, verb conjugations, and wonky pronunciation. It all seems too much to handle, so you start to think about giving up. But we encourage you not to give up. Learning a foreign language is difficult. We won't pretend like it isn't. But that doesn't mean you can't do it. Sometimes you just need to take a step back, reevaluate your approach, and come back to the language with a different perspective. In this video, we'll look at 4 tips for when learning a new language feels overwhelming. Number 1, set aside a designated study time. Consistency is key when learning a foreign language. Studying 15 minutes 7 days a week will benefit you more than cramming in 2 hours 1 day a week. Set aside an amount of time that works best for you. If you can afford to spend an hour every day learning, that's awesome. Go for it. But don't feel bad if you can't spend that much time. Even 10 or 15 minutes a day goes a long way. Breaking up your learning into manageable time segments will relieve a lot of the stress that can come with studying a new language. Learning is not a race. Go at your own pace and try not to compare your progress with anyone else's. Number 2, take it one bite at a time. Now that you have your schedule under control, it's time to focus on what you'll actually be studying. It's recommended that every 1 to 2 weeks you focus on learning a very specific piece of the language. It could be a conjugation group, a case, tense, or a collection of theme vocabulary. Whatever you choose, hone in on it and do your best to feel comfortable with it before you move on to something else. Ever heard the saying, "How do you eat an elephant?" Focusing on one thing at a time helps you break the language into digestible chunks. Number 3, expose yourself to the language in different ways. Don't just sit around reading about grammar all day. Obviously, knowledge of grammar is important, but you want to spice up your practice as much as possible. In addition to grammatical study, try to mix in a combination of reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Try to practice reading by either translating a simple article into your native language, or maybe if you're a beginner, pick up a children's book in your target language. For writing, you can try to write out a fictional conversation between you and yourself even. Use the phrases you know to create a mock conversation, and don't use any words you can't think of or you don't remember. To practice speaking, you can find native speakers locally at a language club or at a meetup. You can also find them online in a language exchange. For listening, a great podcast should do the trick. Spread out each type of practice, listening, reading, speaking, and writing, across your regular language study schedule. This will give you a balanced experience in the language and should help keep things interesting. This method also works well when you use it to focus on a single aspect of the language like we talked about above. Number 4, set mini goals, not just big ones. If your only language learning goal is to be fluent, you're likely setting yourself up for disappointment. While speaking fluently can be your ultimate goal, it shouldn't be your only one. Try to set mini goals, month by month and week by week. It could be something simple. Learn 20 new verbs, practice a new case, or speak with 3 native speakers. As long as it's specific and reasonable to achieve in a shorter amount of time, it should work fine. Not having mini goals alongside your ultimate goal is a lot like sprinting across a huge open field. There's no reference point, so for much of the time it feels like you're not any closer to your goal. It's not that you're not moving forward, it just feels like you're not. Without any trees or buildings to run past, it seems like you're running in place. Mini goals are like the trees and buildings of your language race. They help you see that you're moving forward and give you a sense of accomplishment. The desire for perfection can get in the way of your progress. Don't freak out when you struggle to speak or make a mistake. It's all a part of the learning process. Also, don't be afraid to speak, even if you know what you'll say won't be totally correct. It's better to do your best to communicate in the language and get it wrong than to never try at all. Learning a new language isn't always easy. In fact, oftentimes it's very hard. Don't let that discourage you, though. Use these tips to help keep you focused yet unstressed in your language learning. A little perseverance will go a long way. Before long, you'll be speaking better than you may have thought was possible. Reading in a foreign language is great, but a big challenge related to reading is that you often need a high level of fluency before it gets really fun. And if a book isn't fun, then you're not going to want to read it. The entire point of sitting down with a book is to enjoy it and have a good time being absorbed in the story or learning the information. And that's just not going to happen if you need to look up every second word. It'll take you out of the story, and it will feel like a chore, like an assignment from school where you have to read the book for a class. But there is a resource that you might not know about that can really help your skills: Bilingual Books. In this video, we'll look at how to supercharge your vocabulary with bilingual reading. This is a simple solution that will make reading, especially at the beginner levels, easier and fun. These are books that have your target language on the left page and your native language on the right. But how do you use it? Well, it's all in the name. You read a book in 2 languages at once: the language that you're learning plus the language that you're fluent in. There are a few different formats for bilingual books, but the most common one is the one previously mentioned. You have a book that has your foreign language on one side and your native language on the other. It's also possible to find stories that are presented bilingually, paragraph by paragraph. The principle is the same, but the information is just in more bite-sized chunks, so your eyes need to travel less to read both texts. The great thing about bilingual reading is that you can quickly switch between languages, and the translation is presented to you, so you don't need to try to distinguish between the 10 variants of a word that your dictionary offers, which brings us to the main advantage. Bilingual reading is great for building your initial vocabulary. When you first try reading in a new language, you'll probably find that you need a relatively high level of fluency before you can make a strong connection with the words on the page. Reading is a lot of fun if you already know about 80% of the words, as you can guess the meaning of another 15% from context, and then look up the remaining few words you do not understand. But if you're starting out, you might know only 10% of the words. That's where bilingual reading can help a lot. Here's a way to use a bilingual book. Read a sentence first in your target language. See if you understand it. If you do, think about the meaning of some of the key words. Then, quickly glance on the other side of the page and check the translation. This way, you'll be able to have fun reading and learn contextual vocabulary at the same time. Let's look at why it works well if you're learning a language at home. If you're taking language classes, then your teacher sometimes supports you in a similar way to the translated page. When you're reading a text with your teacher, you can ask them questions whenever you do not understand something. They'll give you a translation quickly and can share other ways in which a word can be used. But if you're learning from home, you don't have that advantage. Bilingual reading offers the same benefits, as you can quickly check the translation of a sentence and see what each word means. The main goal of bilingual books is to bridge the gap between the beginner and intermediate to more advanced levels. They can help set you up to read real books without any translations. Some language purists might recommend you read only stories that were originally written in your target language, but any book you enjoy is best to encourage your studies. Use bilingual reading to improve your vocabulary and reading comprehension skills, until you get so good that you don't need it anymore. It doesn't matter what language you're learning. Bilingual reading works for every language. The principles of language learning don't change, only the implementation does. You also don't really need too much knowledge at the start. If you like a real challenge, then you could even start reading some simple bilingual stories without any prior experience in a language. However, just as with other language programs and courses, the more people who speak a specific language, the easier it'll be to find bilingual books. Why is speaking the #1 weakness for most language learners? Some time ago, we sent out a survey to find out a little more about you. We asked about what you like, what you don't like, your strengths and your weaknesses. One question asked you to rate your abilities in listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Over 70% of people surveyed answered that their biggest weakness is speaking. In this video, you'll find out why speaking is a common weakness. You'll also learn 6 ways you can start improving your speaking skills right now. This is a common issue for language learners. But why is speaking the #1 weakness for most learners? It's pretty simple when you consider that you get better at what you focus on. You get better at what you focus on. When people start learning a language, they usually start with reading. Most learners start with textbooks. Learners taking their first class probably spend most of their time doing homework and reviewing information in their textbook, spending maybe only 30 minutes a week or so repeating words in class. If you spend most of your time reading, you'll get better at reading, but your speaking skills won't grow. It's like exercising just one muscle. That single muscle will get stronger, but the other ones, which are ignored, stay small. This is why speaking is such a common weakness for learners. If you want to improve your speaking skills, you need to spend more time speaking. Here are 6 ways you can start right now. #1. Get a native speaker tutor to practice with. A common issue is most people don't have access to teachers or native speakers, or they just don't have the time to meet with one. But with our Premium Plus plan, you get your very own on-site teacher. You can practice speaking by recording yourself and having them review it. One popular tactic is to talk about your day. To do this, send 3 recordings, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and 1 at night. Your teacher will review your recordings and then give you corrections and feedback. #2. Get conversation-based lessons in the lesson library. If you visit your lesson library, you can sort lessons by conversation, reading, writing, vocab, grammar, or culture. So select conversations, and you'll see the lessons that expose you to conversations and get you speaking the language. #3. Read out loud. While you're listening to a lesson and reading along with the notes, try reading out loud. Then reread and speed up your tempo. If you're reading out loud, you're practicing your speaking skills. And by increasing your speed, you'll also be able to talk faster and with confidence. Do this again and again until you can speak faster. #4. Prepare things to say ahead of time. Most learners, especially beginners, run out of things to say. But if you prepare lines ahead of time, you won't have to worry about this. Start speaking with prepared lines from our 3-minute video lessons, top 25 questions lessons, survival phrases lessons, and other lessons that you'll find in the lesson library. Number 5. Shadow conversations. This means you should repeat the dialogues as you hear them. In every lesson, you learn a new conversation, so try to shadow the conversation line by line. Premium and Premium Plus users use the dialogue tool with this method, and you'll master conversations faster. Number 6. Review again and again. Regular review is essential to mastery. Many learners don't review. If you review and repeat lines again and again, you'll speak better, faster, and with more confidence. Great work! Here's a reward. Speed up your language learning with our PDF lessons. Get all of our best PDF cheat sheets and ebooks for free. Just click the link in the description.